These are the only tools you're going to need to adjust your valves. 17mm wrench, doesn't need to be a box. It can be a box, an open, or a socket, it really doesn't matter. 9mm box or an end wrench. I think that the box makes it easier. Feeler gauge of your choice. This is 02 and 03, or 002 and 003. Some people like to go to 004, 005. I go with 003 on both valves. And some pliers. And if you're rich enough, you can buy some of those fancy smancy little some special tool you can buy. Makes it easier to adjust your valves, and it's basically a combination of this and the pliers that hold the little nut, the little adjuster in the middle. First step is to make sure that your engine is at top dead center on the compression stroke. What you do is you rotate the flywheel. On a CRF50, the flywheel is going to look a lot different than this. This is an older motor, but the principle is the same. You got to make sure that it's at the T mark on the compression stroke. Now, this is not on the compression stroke, and I can tell because it's not spinning easily, and that's because it's on valve overlap, and the springs are wanting to keep this motor right here. And if you twist it this way, it's hard, and if you twist it this way, it's hard. So I'm going to go another 360 degrees until I get to the same mark, and it's going to be hard to turn getting up to it, and that's the compression. And then when you get here, it's going to be real easy to spin, and that's because it's at top dead center on the compression stroke. The next step is to take your big 17mm wrench, pull out and unscrew this tappet cover. Don't lose this little O-ring in here. And you don't need to replace it, so just keep it clean. Next step is to loosen the lock nut. Take your little 9mm and loosen that up. Okay. And then loosen this little adjuster bolt here until you got way too much free play in there. And then take your feeler gauge, and I like to just wipe it off with my finger and just to make sure that it's clean. I don't get any dust in my motor. And stick it in here, and then tighten this little adjuster bolt until I feel it stop. And then right about finger tight is where you're going to have the correct tension. And then just finger tighten that lock nut. And then take your pliers, or take your box wrench first and stick it on here, and then take your pliers to keep this little adjuster thing from spinning, and then snug it up. And then once you got it tight, you got to double check again, make sure that your valve, that your adjustments haven't moved. So snug that, and check this again for the correct tension. You should just have a little bit of pull on there. You don't, I mean not pull, but a little bit of friction. And then you put this back on. And then the manual says you got to torque this to 10 foot-pounds, but you don't really need to. But the point I'm making is that you don't want to over-tighten this because it doesn't need to be very tight. So just snug that on there, and you're good. Now you can do the exhaust. Okay, now the exhaust side is exactly the same. Loosen this thing up. Make sure that the engine is still at top dead center. You don't want it to, you don't need to adjust it when it's wrong because it won't do you any good. Now, the bottom one has oil in it, usually enough to make it drip, so just be careful. I mean, don't make a mess wherever you're working. And do like you did before, and loosen this thing. Loosen the lock nut, loosen the adjuster bolt, and take your feeler gauge again. Wipe it down with your thumb. Just make sure it's clean. And then get in here and tighten this thing down until it's finger tight, and then that should be just about the right tension on this feeler gauge, which it is. Then tighten down the lock nut about as tight as you can get it with your finger. Alright, now get your box wrench again and your pliers just to hold this lock nut or this adjuster bolt, and then tighten the lock nut, and then check again with the feeler gauge for the right tension, and it is. And then you can reassemble. I just got some oil on here. I'll wipe this off. Okay. make sure that your O-ring is in place and clean. Then you can twist this back on here. And once again, the manual calls for 10 foot-pounds. You don't need to torque it, but you don't need to over-tighten it. Just because it's big, you don't need to make it very tight. So just snug that up and you're all set. Now you can put your ignition cover back on. I didn't include that in the tutorial, but you need to put this back on also. Forgot to say to take it off in the beginning, but you do need to take it off in order to make sure you're at top dead center. So hopefully you watched this video before you actually did it, that way you understand it all. Once you got everything cleaned up and put back together, you can